All right, so we're going to keep on working on our gumball machine pictures. So we left off kind of looking at this one, and I still haven't finished coloring anything down here. We could keep on coloring that however we want it to look. And then if these are all dry, if I want to go back, I have this paint, again, the little dot paint. And I could put, I didn't end up getting another color, so this is going to layer a little bit. But I could put a little bit more. I don't want to put too many of those because then I'm going to end up with too much of the same color. But I wanted to show you that you can let them overlap a little bit. I'm going to put this away, and then we're going to take a look at this one. That's a little bit more finished. So you can see these are the circles that I added by dotting on our paint. It's totally dry. You can see I've done some Sharpie outlining here. I'm going to show you how I was doing that. I was just taking my Sharpie and tracing the gumballs. I'm not going to do the whole thing right now, and it's okay for some white to show. That could be a highlight. And so do you see I didn't trace that whole circle? If one looks a little bit darker than the other, it looks like it's on top, you can let it be right on top. Same thing with this yellow. This purple looks like it's kind of on this yellow. So I'm just going to trace it like this. This one, if you come across these types of areas where it didn't print all the way, you can just circle around those. Again, that could be a highlight. And some of them are going to look bigger than others, even though in gumball machines, they're usually all the same size. Some of these, if they were a little bit further away in the gumball machine, may look a little bit smaller. Here's a good spot to talk about right over here. So I have to decide which one of these is going to be on top. And I think I'm going to let this sort of turquoisey one be on top. And then this purple can be next. And then that little green right there I can trace. All right, so we wouldn't have all this air and all these spaces in there. So now how I'm going to fill that in, I'm going to just make some circles that are kind of behind there. Sometimes you might just have a couple of little lines like that. Sometimes it just might be joining some spaces together. So I'm kind of making just some curves. Let's see here. And there might be a little bit of air because if these are round, little small spheres, they're not going to fill in all the space perfectly, are they? So we're going to trace the ones that we have. And then when we make these other little spaces here, what we're going to do is just take our markers, and that way you get more colors to choose from too. And you can color in some of those or all of those spaces. This part might take a while, but that's okay. We are patient artists. So I'm going to take this, I have this red marker, and even little tiny spaces, you could just put a little color in there to fill in. Let's see, how about some yellow? The yellow brightens it up a little bit because there's not a lot of that. So we'll put some yellows in there. Let's see. And I fill in those little spaces, and then you see that my work is still not done. I still have a lot more to finish up here, and I could leave some space at the top because it might not be totally full. Maybe a lot of people have put in some money and gotten some gumballs out of here, so there's a little space at the top. But they would be sitting, they would be down at the bottom. They wouldn't be up at the top and not at the bottom. And again, it's okay to have some space here if they're up against the glass part. We wouldn't just color that in because then it would be just a flat part, if that makes sense to you. So you can kind of see how I'm doing that to make it really bright and colorful. And remember, you can color the rest to look however you want. You can make it all kinds of fancy colors. Remember, we started coloring this one, didn't get very far, and then we'll think of some ideas for our backgrounds.